Okay, so this is going to be 4 steps to do this one. The first thing we'll do is we'll create a component that will have our sidebar in it. The second step is we'll create a variable in our app.svelte file. That variable will be the sidebar true or false. So if it's true, we'll show the sidebar. If it's false, we won't show the sidebar. The third step is we'll create a function that will be responsible for toggling that variable. And the fourth and final step is on the button, when we click it, we will call that function that will toggle the variable. And then hopefully the sidebar shows on the page for us. So the first thing we'll do is let's create a sidebar component. So just in lib here, let's create a new Svelte component. I have a plugin that just knows Svelte files. So let's call it sidebar, and then just go enter, and it's sidebar.svelte. And let's get some HTML for bootstrap sidebars. So let's go. And it's just the sidebars example. Go inspect. And we'll just copy this entire. I've also pasted in a little bit of styling to make it go the entire height and have it fixed on the page for us. So that's that sidebar.svelte file and all of the HTML we've copied from Bootstrap. What we need to now do is we need to, in our app.svelte file, tell it about this new sidebar.svelte file. So let's import, and we start going S, and it guesses it, and we go sidebar from that location here. So now we know about it. And just in our current page, it just has the show sidebar button, which is the exact same setup as we had in the last lesson. Let's just now plot that sidebar file here, and you can go like this, or you can shorthand it like that as well. So that is equally valid as that is. And our sidebar is now showing on the page. Beautiful. So we'll go across to step 2 is we'll create a sidebar variable. We'll make it a let because we want to change this variable. Sidebar equals, let's initiate it as false. So we don't want that sidebar to show off the bat. And step 3 we want to do is let's make a function that will take this sidebar variable, and if it's false, make it true, and if it's true, make it false. So let's call it toggle sidebar. So go toggle sidebar. So I'm just doing a little bit different to mix things up. I'm having a function just directly called, not putting it inside of a variable, like I did in the last lesson, which would be that is a function inside of a variable. You can use it that way, or just to show it a little bit differently to you. That will work as well. We'll just do it as a function. Toggle sidebar. So I want sidebar to be equal to the opposite of sidebar, the reverse of sidebar. So that's what the little exclamation mark does. So if sidebar is true, this will make it false. If it's false, this will make it true. And then the last thing we need to do, we want to call this when we click the button. So this is the last step that makes it all come together. On click for our button equals, we want to run this function here. So we don't want to have the brackets because that will run the function when the div is built. We don't want to run the function. We want that function to be called by the on click. So we don't do it with the brackets. Okay, so if we're good, we'll refresh the page. And it's not working. Cool, because I forgot to use that variable now. So what we want to do is we only want to show the sidebar if sidebar and if sidebar is true, so that's the only time that sidebar should show. So it's disappeared. It was a good sign. So if we click this and it appears. So what's happening when we click this? We click. The onClick function is calling toggle sidebar. Toggle sidebar is going into here and going, the sidebar is equal to the inverse of what sidebar currently is. So if it was false, it's now true. And then down in our HTML here, this reruns again and updates with reactivity because sidebar has changed. So the HTML re-renders and then this hides and shows. So there's a little bit happening there for a very basic example. But that's it all up and running, showing some reactivity again. The key part that makes all this come together is the equal symbol. So reactivity, everything boils down to if there's something on the right hand side that is then passing through the equal symbol and setting a variable on the left hand side of the equals, that will trigger reactivity in the div element of the Svelte file. So it's really important. We'll go through that in the next lesson a little bit more about why you can't use, say, like .push into an array. But that's the main magic that is really important with reactivity with Svelte, is that equals assignment operator being what triggers the rebuild of the div to make it reactive and dynamic on the page.